impact on that individual or their family. These guests of ours are going to be speaking to you about what happened to them and how it has shaped their lives. If you have difficulty hearing, please move forward. Don't be embarrassed. Mr. Franklin's not worried. He knows that you're harmless. Okay? So with that being said, if you have questions, certainly we'd like to hear them, but he's going to begin with his presentation. Mr. Franklin.
Thank you. As you just heard, I've been here before. I didn't see you, I saw other students. I'm very honored to be here, to be invited back. My story is not quite as much of a horror story as some of the other folks who are here today. I was never personally imprisoned. Let me go back a little bit. I was born way back when, ancient history, it seems like 1928, and at that time I lived in a small town in eastern Germany, a town which, since they've changed the borders after the war, is now part of Poland. At the time it was Germany. My father was born across what was then the border in Poland. My grandfather was born in the same town I was. And the name of the town was Schlochau, which I don't expect you to remember, which is not important. It's not called Schlochau anymore. Little town, 6,000 people. The biggest industry was horse traders. There were no auto dealers, although some people did have cars. And it was a nice little community, I suppose you can call it. And I actually didn't know anything about politics. I was a little child. I went to kindergarten with many others. I was found out later, I was the only Jewish child in the kindergarten, but that, at that point, meant nothing to anybody. Then, there were already overtones. My parents were worried of different things happening, but I was too young to know. Not at age 6, you don't know what to worry about such things. As long as my grades were okay. And I was just saying, we had blackboards with white chalk, but the idea was the same. There was a teacher, there was lessons. We learned to read, we learned to write. And in those days, by the way, even the students did not have pencil and paper notebooks. They had slates, like a blackboard. We wrote on there with a certain white type crayon. That's where we learned how to write. Well, that didn't have anything to do with the real problems of the world. But my parents separated, and I moved to my grandparents' house with my mother in another little town, not very far from there, in a different county, but in the same section of Germany. Eastern Germany was agricultural at that time. Quite different from the western part of Germany, which was industrialized. We had a 200-acre farm, and we had a plowshare factory. We made parts for the agricultural equipment, most of which was horse-drawn at the time. Very few farmers had any kind of mechanized equipment, tractors, things like that. So we made the parts for these plows and other equipment. So we had this farm, we had this factory, we were paid, and even there, I was not discriminated against, sort of had a sigh of relief. Went through Spain, then finally crossed the border from Spain into Portugal. This was March 15th, 1941, my 13th birthday. Let me go back, I got time, a few more minutes.
You do?
As is the custom for Jews, at age 13, boys have a bar mitzvah ceremony, which is supposed to change them from boys into men, but the bar mitzvah is usually on or about the birthday, and I was going to be out of the country by then. So 1 week before I had my bar mitzvah, I've been studying for it, the Bible portion and so forth, and I had my bar mitzvah in an unheated synagogue. A few of them remained open. them had been destroyed or closed during the last few years. And I had read my Torah portion, Torah being the Bible, and I did well. The only difference between my bar mitzvah and others was I couldn't accept any presents because our suitcases were packed and sealed. So the only thing I actually could accept and had as a proud present was a pen and pencil set. And I leaned out the window, didn't throw any cash out because I didn't have any, but my nice pen and pencil one, the pen part of the pen and pencil set fell out the window. Unintentioned, but I only had a pencil left. In Lisbon, which is a nice city, neutral city, no war involved, never was at that time, they got us a room in a small hotel, and we sat there and waited again for the ship to arrive to take us to the United States. And Ron and Lisbon, we were very happy to be there, but anxious to continue the trip. We finally did, and in Lisbon, we couldn't speak the language, but there were so many others of us in the group, and we enjoyed our brief stay there. We finally boarded the ship, which took a circuitous ride to the United States because of the potential of submarines and all that kind of things. Stopped in Bermuda, couldn't get off the ship though, but that was on the way, it would have been out of the way. But we finally, the great day arrived, April 3rd, 1941. We docked in New York, Brooklyn, New York. We were met by my uncles in a taxi to take us to the train, which would take us to Philadelphia. In the meantime, here we were in the United States of America. We had seen the Statue of Liberty, the greatest day of my life, April 3rd, 1941. In New York, this was a DeSoto made by Chrysler. DeSoto Skyview taxi cab. Most of them were in New York at that time. And I looked up there and I saw these huge buildings along Broadway, New York. Berlin was a major city, had a lot of big buildings, but no tall buildings like 30, 40-story buildings. So I looked at these buildings, I was amazed. But the thing that amazed me most was some red advertising signs. And they said, drink Coca-Cola. This amazed me, because in Berlin, all the buses had big ads in red, drink Coca-Cola.
See?
Coca-Cola. They have that here too, I thought. That's the thing that a 13-year-old kid gets amazed. And that's my story. We went to Philadelphia the same night. 2 weeks later, I was sick in bed because I had eaten too much whipped cream and stuff like that, which my stomach wasn't used to. That's my story. Thank you.
Franklin, we have a few minutes. Would you mind entertaining any questions?
Certainly. Anybody have any questions? So remember this, I was very lucky. I was never in prison myself. I saw it, what it does to people, like relatives, but I was very fortunate. So these things did happen, and they started to happen when I was there, and they got much worse after we left.
Students, is there any students that have any questions? You know, it's interesting that Mr. Franklin says that he didn't have a story, but I took down a number of notes listening to your story. And when your personal freedom is trodden on and taken away, you are in prison. And your personal freedom, the fact that you were able to overcome having your personal freedom taken, I can imagine that any of these students who can understand that you weren't allowed to even go to school. You were denied an education. You know, here in the United States, we have a free public education that is granted to us because of our parents paying taxes. And yet, when someone comes along and says, you cannot go to school, you cannot learn, you can't have a craft, they took away all of your family's possessions, you had no home, and then you had to come to the United States with $4.
I only had $3.95 left. I'm in the candy bar.
So, yeah, you have a story, and we thank you so much for sharing it with us.
I might mention, when I came to the United States, they put me in 8th grade at the Clymer Elementary School in North Philadelphia, and it took me very little time. A week or two, I could begin to understand the teacher and start to talk to my classmates. In 8th grade, I went to Cook Junior High, which is now considered I guess that's called a middle school, right? And then 9th grade. By 10th grade, I went to Central High School, 10th, 11th, and 12th. You all in 10th grade, are you? I went to Central High School, Philadelphia, well-known school, and I finally graduated from Temple University. So I was able to make something of myself, and I became an insurance agent, and did all that. And I finally retired when I was 74. Good time to retire, and here I am doing nothing except playing bridge and talking to you guys.
Well, thank you. We have about 1 minute left before the bell rings, so if you don't have any questions, would you like to come up and meet Mr. Frank and personally? Please do so.
You should come around us.
Okay. So we'll just, do you want to take him down to the library? He won't. He won't.
All right.